on the record, Your Honor.
All right, we're back on the record in the matter of Church v. Johnson. Okay, Ms. Cole, it is 4:26. Do you want to begin your cross-examination today?
Yes.
Okay.
I can start.
Oh, wait, I can barely hear you.
Oh. Is that better?
No.
If my...
It's like when
Is it
your
worse than
radio's on
before?
really low. What?
Is it worse than it was before?
It's not worse now, but just, it's not very loud.
Okay. Do you want me to call in?
No, I would like for you to just, is it possible for you to get closer to the mic or to move the camera closer to you?
The camera is...
Okay, that's better. Now we can hear you. I don't know what you just did, but you got closer to the camera or you spoke up or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right. Miss Church, you talked about your childhood trauma. Were you abused as a child? I understand your testimony, or did you witness abuse?
I witnessed abuse.
Okay.
But that is
And
a form of being abused, I feel like, as well, so.
you witnessed your father abusing your mother?
Yes.
Have any concerns about any behaviors from your mother?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any concerns about behaviors from your mother growing up?
I'm not sure I understand. I'm not...
Maybe not. Was there anything that your mother did while you were growing up that you disapproved of?
Tons of stuff, yes.
Like what?
Like... making me take naked photos of her as a child.
Making you what?
Take naked photos of her vagina. like, just like very, very, sexual things I was forced to witness by my mother. I would have to photograph her nude. I was put in a lot of questionable scenarios where I was, doing photo shoots twice a month with these old men from a very young age. I can remember this happening. I was forced to get my boobs done in high school. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Tons of stuff. My mom is not a good person.
Okay. You lived with her, though, in 2020?
No.
You never lived with your mom in the last 5 years?
Not in 2020. In 2019, yes.
Okay, how long? And you lived with your mom and Madison?
Yes.
When?
After I was able to escape Brooks and where he was keeping Madison and I hostage, I fled to my mother's.
Okay, when's the last time you saw your mom, your mother?
Over a year ago. I'm not sure of the exact time. Probably right around the time actually my dad died. So maybe between October 2020 and December 2020. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think...
Did anything happen between your mom and you, or your mom and Madison in 2019 when you lived with her that you disapproved of?
Not that I can recall. I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm just saying, do you have a good relationship with your mother now?
No, I mean, so I'm not sure what kind of mother promotes physical violence and abuse, but my mother does. My mother was pushing me back into the arms of my abuser, who was actively trying to kill me. So that is my big disagreement with my mom, is that women should not have to be physically abused in order to live a life, which my mom believes that I deserve to be abused.
Okay. You've made allegations that your mother is engaging in child pornography with your daughter?
Mr. Johnson made those allegations, and I have now found that the allegations Mr. Johnson had made are true. My mom is a pedophile as well.
Okay, so you've said in the CPS records, and I'm just, from my review of the CPS records, you said your mother is making child pornography, not Mr. Johnson. He didn't say that about your mother. You did.
Mr. Johnson did tell me that. For 3 months, when I was being held hostage, the whole point of me not being allowed to have freedom and not being allowed to leave the Siegel Suites or have any communication with the outside world was Mr. Johnson said he was trying to protect Madison from my mother. His whole goal was for us to give Madison to his mom in Michigan to save her from my mother's pedophile child porn ring that she has a lucrative lifestyle with that here in Las Vegas. Mr. Johnson and my mother, according to Madison, take naked baths together. And Madison's revelation of their naked baths together was the first time that I realized that my mom is also sodomizing Madison as well.
Okay, so how did you know that?
Because my daughter told me. She said, Mommy,
Okay.
Daddy and Nanny take baths with me.
Okay. So your reason for this allegation that your mom is sodomizing Madison is that Madison said that she took a bath with your mom.
The reason for what allegation? I wasn't giving a reason for any allegation right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand what your basis is for some of the things that you've said. So you've made a comment that your mother, is involved in a ring of child pornography. Have you ever seen this child pornography ring? Any of its photographs or videos?
No.
Have you ever found your daughter's likeness or image in any videos or photos
Yes.
that were pornography related?
I'm not sure. There's videos that my mom has taken of Madison that I now reflect on, and I feel like they're questionable as to whether or not they are normal photographs or videos that a grandmother would take. But the whole basis for my allegations is my daughter is begging me to help her because she is getting sodomized. So that's where this is coming from. Nowhere else.
Okay, well, there's been a lot of allegations, so I was just trying to break that one down regarding your mother. So how many siblings do you have?
2.
Brother, sister,
Yes.
one of each?
Yes.
Okay, are you close to either of them?
No.
Have you seen either of them in the last 5 years?
Yes.
When's the last time you saw your brother?
A couple days after my dad died.
Okay. True that your brother called you a meth whore.
Yes.
Okay, do you know why he would say that?
Objection calls for speculation.
If she knows.
If you know.
I think that's a ridiculous question. No, I don't know.
How long has he been calling you that?
That was the first time he's ever called me that. He also talked about selling my daughter for sex to men. So let's bring up that too, if we're trying to bring up things that my brother was saying. My brother was also saying a lot of things that day. My brother has obvious mental issues, but
Does your mother have mental issues?
extreme.
What kind?
I'm not sure. I don't think
Has
she's
she been diagnosed? Has she been diagnosed with anything?
I'm not sure.
What about your brother?
I'm not sure.
Does she hear voices?
I don't know.
Okay. why do you say she has extreme mental health issues then?
Not mental, because of her patterns of behavior that she's been exhibiting for, the entirety of my life.
Meaning the photographs that she took of you and that kind of thing, or something else?
Everything, from her actions as a mother, as a person, her way of thinking, everything. Everything is distorted, nothing is typical.
Are you close with your sister?
Closer than my brother, yes.
Is it true that she recently went through a divorce as well?
I don't know too much about that.
A custody case, I'm sorry.
I guess so.
Okay. And was there allegations of abuse in that case?
I know nothing about her case or her divorce proceedings. Zero. I know nothing.
Then why did you say I guess so?
Because I don't know. So I'm just saying that I did hear that she was going through a divorce, but I don't know anything about the proceedings specifically.
Are you aware that she made identical allegations that you're making in this case?
She actually did not, Lauren. She did not.
Lack of foundation. Ms. Cole, your response?
Well, I can change the question slightly to, do you know if your sister made the exact same allegations that you made in this case?
I have heard you guys bring up this topic in the past, and I would love to see proof of where that came from. But my sister does not or did not ever have these allegations, ever. I am the one that actually found out about her children's abuse by Mr. Johnson. He is the one that told me my mom is been exploiting her 5 children.
Hold on just a minute. Where does your sister live?
In California.
Where in California?
In Paris. P-E-R-R-I-S.
P-E-R-R-I-S?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time you talked to her?
Maybe like a month ago.
Okay. And when was the last time you talked to her before that?
My dad had passed recently, like I said. So we have been in steady communication because of his estate that...
But you were estranged before your dad passed?
No.
Oh, you've always been in communication with your sister?
Yeah, we randomly will talk whenever. I'm not... I'm not sure if there was a period of time where I went for a long time without talking to her, but we always have been in communication off and on.
Okay. Go ahead,
No,
Ms.
sorry. No, if her children allegedly reported that their dad molested them.
I didn't hear the beginning of that. Do I know?
I don't
You
know.
know?
Can you repeat that, Ms. Cole?
I said, do you know if your sister's children reported their dad molested them?
No, I do not know that.
Know if he has custody rights?
I have no idea about any of their happenings.
In the times that you've spoken to her, you've never discussed that topic.
No, we've been discussing my dad's estate strictly. That has been a big topic. And honestly, this is not something that I just feel like talking to people about. Even with my sister, I'm not just wanting to have conversations about this thing that's crippling my life, my daughter being taken from me.
So that you've talked to a lot of other people about it.
No, it's not true.
Oh, are you denying having told the drug testing facility about your court case?
I believe that Mr. Johnson is a pedophile, and I believe that I have shared that information with people that I think are pertinent into this proceeding and what's going on as far as the drug testing place. Yes, I did share that information with them.
Isn't it true that you did so in the presence of other parties that were, third parties that were coming in to test?
I don't know.
Were there people around?
I don't know.
Within earshot?
I don't know.
How many times have you gone in and complained about Mr. Johnson?
I think that is the wrong way to phrase the question. I don't go in and complain about Mr. Johnson.
How
But
many times have you mentioned him?
I don't
in-
know. I
So,
have no
so
idea.
when you say that Mr. Johnson's a sociopath,
Yes.
is that a complaint?
I'm
she
not
said
sure, but I'm
pedophile.
not walking around telling everybody that. I think that it's very relevant in this setting to know that Mr. Johnson is a sociopath and that he adapts and molds his life to his environment. However, I'm not walking around talking about Mr. Johnson being a pedophile or a sociopath, even though I firmly believe he is both of those things.
Okay,
No,
go ahead, Ms.
and
Cole.
Your Honor, she said that earlier her testimony was that Mr. Johnson is a pedophile, not a sociopath, when she just testified before.
No, she's said both all
Multiple
along.
times,
Yeah.
She's always maintained that he is both of those things.
Yes. So, is it your belief that Mr. Johnson has been convicted of a crime, sexual crime against a child?
Is he convicted? She
I'm
cut
sorry,
out.
can you repeat that, Ms. Cole? We're having a hard time understanding. It's cutting out.
Is it your belief that Mr. Johnson has been convicted of a crime involving a child?
Do I believe he's been convicted? No, I do not believe he's been convicted. Do I believe that my child has accused her father of sodomizing her? Yes.
Do you believe that your child has been sodomized by multiple people?
Absolutely.
How many?
4 that she can name by name, and then there are masked women that she does not know their names.
Who do you believe has sodomized your daughter?
Honestly, I don't feel comfortable talking about this only because I feel like this is going to get Madison into trouble. Me naming specifics and saying there's a lot of situations that Madison has brought up to me that I do not believe that it would be safe if I mentioned in court, as far as her being taken to places and people that are doing the sexual abuse to her. I'm worried that Brooks is going to take this information and then punish Madison for it, for telling me.
You didn't worry about that last?
You don't know what I worry about, okay, Lauren?
No,
Well,
no,
you-
we
I-
can do that, not argumentative.
In the questions, I'm simply asking for a response. You went into CPS, already made all these allegations, knowing that Mr. Johnson would read them.
Yes, and there's stuff that I did not state in those allegations on the CPS report. But yes, I'm aware that he knows things that I've already said.
How many people, who do you believe has done sexual things to your daughter?
Upwards of 15 people.
Who are these people?
They're associates of Brooks.
Associates in what way?
People that, okay, so my mom is one. Madison has said that my mom's roommate,
You can't say what Madison said. You can say what
Okay.
your concerns are, and you can say who you think did things to her, but you cannot say what Madison said.
the first person to ever stick his finger inside Madison's rectum was my mother's roommate. His name is Greg Bowen. He stuck his finger inside her rectum while my mom took photos in her makeshift photo studio she has at her house.
How do you know she has a photo studio at
Do you
her
want me to
house?
finish the question that you asked originally? With
Ma'am, answer the question. Ms. Cole, please don't interrupt her. I don't think that you could hear that she was still speaking, Ms. Cole. I don't think that was intentional. Go ahead, Ms. Church. You said that your mom's roommate, Greg Bowen, while your
So-
mom took photos
Yes.
at her home studio. Is
yes,
that what you said?
that
Okay.
she has set up in front of her, in her entryway of her house.
Okay.
Then my mom would be the second person, and then her father, Mr. Johnson, and then her father's boss, Craig Wiseman, who is also sodomizing Madison on a regular basis. So 4 people by name, and then a number of other people that she cannot name based on other factors.
Okay. When was your daughter... Okay, let me ask you about the studio. How do you know your mother has a makeshift studio in her house?
Because I lived with her.
And she has a photo studio in her house?
Yes.
but you stated earlier that nothing happened when you lived there that concerned you.
Just because there's a photo studio doesn't mean that's a cause for concern.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that. So nothing happened while you were living with your mom in regards to that studio, or did they? Was there?
Madison wasn't allowed to go downstairs without me. Madison wasn't allowed to be with my mom's roommate alone. I did not feel comfortable with either my mom or Greg being around Madison. I can't say anything specifically that happened, but the overall feeling was one of Madison was safest with me.
Okay, so when you say that you know you're the first person that sodomized Madison was your mother,
No.
how? I
said,
thought you said that.
No, she said her mother's roommate, Greg Bowen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I mixed those up. So the first one was Greg. So how do you know? Is that based on only on disclosures that you've gotten from Madison? Is there any other evidence that you have?
No.
Okay, and then do you have any other evidence that your mother did this besides what you've heard from Madison?
When you have a child that's yours and they are coming to you searching for help, begging for help, that is the only evidence that I feel like I need as a person, is when my child is telling me something.
I'm respectfully, I'm just asking if that's true or not. I'm just trying to understand what
The only
is the
evidence
basis-
that...
Wait, now you've interrupted
sorry.
her, Ms. Church.
Sorry.
So, wait, let me just start over. The question, Ms. Church, was what is the basis for your belief that your mom has committed sexual assault on your daughter? You said it's based on what Madison has told you.
Yes.
Is there any other basis, any other information that you have other than what Madison
No.
has told you?
Only what she has said, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Cole.
Okay, in terms of Craig Wiseman, is that based on something Madison said, or do you have other evidence that concern?
I don't know this person. I have no reason to bring him into a situation like this other than what my daughter has told me.
Okay, so you don't know Craig Wiseman, you just know that how do you know he's Brooks's boss?
Well, when I look on the website, okay, first let me tell you, Brooks was homeless for a period of close to 3 months. During those 3 months, Madison and Brooks were living off and on with his boss. This is the first period of time that I was introduced to this person, this name, was during the time when Brooks said that they were living with him. He also has a house in Mount Charleston that Brooks was taking Madison to as well, and he was saying that is his boss's Craig. And I believe he sent me the address, he gave me the information about his boss. So that's probably how I learned the name and everything originally was from him.
Okay, well, when you say he's homeless, it sounds like he was living somewhere.
Madison said in their truck.
Okay,
And
but
when was
realize
that? When was Dad homeless?
Okay, so it was the months leading up to Madison's September revelation. So he
September of 2021?
last year, yeah. So
Okay.
that's when September is when Madison first revealed to me that she's being sexually abused. Up to that point, there was almost a 3-month period where Brooks had initially said that his pipes in his apartments burst. And that they were fixing the apartment, they were, revamping it, and they would move him back in once it was done. This, since I've been referencing his sociopathic abilities, this is one of them. He's painting this false situation which did not happen. I do not believe that his apartment had been damaged in any way. I believe that he was either evicted or something else happened that started this catalyst of him having no place to live.
So you're saying that it was 3 months before September is when Dad was
So
homeless?
almost about 3 months, yeah.
So that would have been
Sep-
September, so it would have been 1, 2, 3, around June, July, August
Yep.
of 2021 is when Dad was homeless. Is that what you're
Yep,
saying?
yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you.
I want to say that maybe it was like in July that he messaged me on the Talking Parents app saying that the pipes burst. That night he said we're going to a hotel. He even told me that the apartment building was paying for his lodging since it was, not his fault about the damage. And then that sizzled off. So
What do you mean by sizzled off?
so he just stopped talking about it.
Okay.
So he never went back to that apartment. He never touched on whether or not the damage had been fixed. He just started couch surfing. He said that he was staying with Craig. And then there would be sometimes when he had Madison, they would be at Craig's, main location, I'm guessing, which is like in town. And then they would go periodically to Mount Charleston and stay up there. He did tell me at one point that they were moving to the Mount Charleston location, that they were going to start renting it, but that never happened either. But that's like kind of how it started happening. Was him saying that there was damage.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Cole.
All the way on the allegation of Mr. Johnson living in a truck, did you review any of the records from CPS after they investigated that claim?
Are you talking to me? Did they?
I'm sorry, Ms. Cole. I didn't hear the beginning of that
Oh,
question. I don't think Ms. Church did either. Just
Okay, no problem. I said, since we're on the subject of living in the truck, the allegation that Brooks was living in his truck, I asked Ms. Church if she reviewed the CPS records when they investigated that allegation.
So we came to the conclusion that that was not investigated. Gwen did state in court, during, I think it was the first day or two of our trial, that she did not investigate that she never looked into that. When Richard asked her if she had looked into how long he had been in that apartment, she said no. So that was never investigated. And I do want to add that Gwen never met with me in person. She never had a sit down with me. She never had a talk with me. I don't feel like she did any investigating, honestly.
So you don't know that CPS reviewed Mr. Johnson's lease?
So if my memory is correct, which I'm very sure it is, Miss White went to an apartment that Brooks had for maybe 2 days. He had spent 1 or 2 nights there. Upon her arrival to that apartment, she did not find out that he had been not living there for the 3 months prior that Madison said they were living in their truck. I don't think that is anything that definitive at all, that she never investigated it.
Okay, but regardless, we can all agree that CPS did investigate whether Mr. Johnson had a residence, and he did.
No. I don't think they
Okay, so-
investigated anything. I think that they showed up to a house that he just moved into.
Okay, so your position is that barely got somewhere right when CPS investigated.
The Wednesday before is when he actually got because I started to make a fuss over this. And then that's when he actually started to put some effort into getting a solid location to keep Madison in. But up to that point, he was giving me the runaround. And literally, the Wednesday before CPS investigated, that's when he signed his lease.
Okay, and you know that because you've seen the lease?
I know that because he sent me a screenshot of his application online, And that was on a Wednesday, and he hadn't even filled it out yet or given the deposit. That was just a screenshot of him applying for the apartment. So I know that because of what Mr. Johnson had sent me.
That's not part of the record.
Did you produce a copy of that screenshot?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I may have.
Okay, so going back to your history, did you graduate high school?
Yes.
What did you do after that?
I was a college cheerleader, and I did 2 years of junior college, and then USC, the University of Southern California, they heard about my cheerleading ability. My second year of junior college, they came to football game and they scouted me out, and they invited me to be one of the first USC competitive cheerleaders. And so I had a scholarship to USC, and I went there for close to 2 years. Yeah.
Why did you get a degree at
No.
USC?
No, my major
Why
was
not?
communications and child development. I didn't graduate.
Okay, and why was that? What happened that made you leave college?
I wanted to travel.
Okay, and what was your opportunity?
I was in a relationship at the time, and I wanted to quit going to school to pursue my relationship.
Okay, and what does that have to do with traveling?
Because he was in a position where he traveled for work, so I wanted to be a part of that.
What did he do?
He was a poker player.
Okay, so was he employed by someone as a poker player?
Yes, and I guess, yeah.
Did he have his own bankroll that he carried around and he went places and played?
Yes.
Okay, and where did you travel?
Europe, the Bahamas. We just followed the tour, basically, the poker tour.
When did you and your poker player boyfriend break up? How long did you date him?
I dated him for all of my 20s, pretty much, up until when I met Brooks. I dated him for 7 years, maybe 8 years. Yeah.
And what happened when you met Brooks?
He forced his way, like, into my apartment and basically wouldn't leave, and convinced me that my boyfriend, or my ex was Canadian, so he had to go back to Canada for citizenship part of the year. Brooks was convincing me that he didn't love me, my ex-boyfriend did not love me, and that he had been cheating on me. Again, I think that this plays back to his skillfulness as a sociopath.
Were you on any kind of medication during your 20s?
No. Well, I took Prozac off and on, but no.
Okay, why did you take Prozac?
To generalize it, I don't know, depression, anxiety.
Okay, what was your diagnosis that caused you to be prescribed Prozac?
I'm not sure if there was a diagnosis, like a solid diagnosis. I was never seeking treatment. I was never seeing a therapist. I've never had someone that I typically speak to on a normal basis. I think that at some point in my 20s, I went to the doctors and I talked about, being depressed or having anxiety, and someone along the road suggested Prozac, and that's how I was introduced to it.
Ms. Cole, it's 5 o'clock. This is probably a good place to start. If you wanted to dig into that deeper, then maybe this would be a good place to start next time.
Very well, that's fine.
All right. Do we already have a date on calendar?
I believe we do. It is. It looks like 4:25 at half-day setting at 1:30.
4:25? Well, that's just my, oh yes, I'm sorry. Ms. Church, please do sit down. 4:25, half-day setting. We start at
Yes.
what time?
1:30.
Your Honor, that's the one where I had advised the court that I have a 5 o'clock video deposition.
Okay.
So I'd have to finish it around like 4:20.
Oh, so we can still go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Just you'll have to be done around 4:20?
Yeah, 4:20, and then go back to my office for the video.
All right. Okay. Well, let's start at 1:30. For sure 1:30 too. I won't push that back at 2 o'clock. I'll do whatever it takes to have to make sure that I don't have to push that back. All right, so 1:30 firm. Anything else we need to discuss between now and then?
Can you just make sure we know a solid foundation for when I'm getting my calls and what days and what
I
times?
guess just that she wants. Mr.
Yeah, Ms.
Johnson to
Cole,
abide
I
by
have
the
no,
law.
I don't know your client's position about these video chats.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many times I have to address this. I mean it when I say I want those video chats to take place, and I do not want interference with Mr. Johnson. So maybe he disagrees with what Ms. Church is saying regarding that testimony. I do not know his position. I can't get into it right now. But
I understand,
I
and
absolutely insist on those video chats going forward.
we agree. And she is to call, not my client. That was the court order.
Well, that's what she's saying.
I've
She's
called
saying that
3
she is
times.
calling.
Okay.
All right, so
I
I
can-
mean,
I can
listen.
address that.
And let me
I can
just.
agree.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cole. Let me just say something else too. I know that the rules of evidence say that there's a discovery deadline. I get that, but I think that's in anticipation that a trial's going to happen very soon thereafter. The thing with family law cases is they are ever evolving. Things are always still happening. So I mean, I know it's not conventional for a judge to say that I want evidence of things that happened after the discovery deadline. But if it is relevant to the best interest of the child, I think that has to prevail over procedural rules. I try to balance that. I think that's the whole purpose of the scales of justice. We're constantly trying to balance the equities between the parties. And so having said that, if you have some piece of evidence that is critical or important, that is necessary for the court to view or consider in the best interest of the child, I'm going to consider allowing it in, even after the discovery deadline. Having said that, do I want a whole floodgate of stuff that could have and should have been produced prior to the deadline? No. But the shooting of Mr. Johnson occurred after the discovery deadline. So does that mean that I can't consider it if there's an implication that the two people that are persons of interest, and it turns out that maybe they were somehow involved? I don't have any information that they were involved right now, other than Ms. Cole's representation that they are the only persons of interest. Okay, so I think that's relevant. That's something that happened after the discovery deadline. I think the court has to consider it.
I made the representation that the detective told me they are persons of interest in the investigation, and the investigation is.
I'm not questioning that. I'm not
Okay,
questioning
I just wanted to make sure it was clear that he didn't say they were the only persons of interest. He didn't. I don't know if they are. He didn't say that.
Maybe Mr. Creel said it, but I have heard somebody say that in this case, that they are the only two people that are of interest. So, I mean, if some information comes, I have to consider it. So, I mean, I just think that I don't want to put form over substance. So just consider that. All right, if you have information that is relevant to these proceedings. And what I mean by that is Ms. Church is begging me to view videos of Mr. Johnson's interference with her video chats. If there are phone records or anything that is demonstrative that he's doing that, I want to see it. All right, without the necessity of having the parties having to file motions and whatnot. I'm trying to save you guys money. So it's an issue. I want those video chats going forward without interference from Mr. Johnson. If I am admonishing Mr. Johnson unjustly, just know that it's because I'm only doing so on the basis of what I've heard from Ms. Church. She's pretty adamant that these aren't going forward. It's a simple fix. If somebody's got videos, they can let me know whether or not they're going forward. If we've got phone records, that's a simple fix. It will show who called who at what time and when. All right? I would like to see those. All right? But I intend for those video chats to go forward. And Ms. Church, you are to initiate the calls. And Mr. Johnson, you are to ensure that the device that the child is going to participate in a video chat is charged and ready, and the child is ready to go. That she's not involved in a birthday party at the same time, or she's not in the middle of eating dinner or her dessert and doesn't want to be bothered by a phone call. I mean, you are to make sure that the child is ready and available at the time designated for the phone chats. All right. Having said that, we don't need to talk about whether or not they're going forward. The evidence will speak for itself. You'll have to be accountable for it the next time we come in. So I will see you guys back here on April the 25th at 1:30. All right? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.